This video discusses the project type feature of Architactile Inception. When you create a new project in Inception, you're required to provide 4 pieces of information: the client name, the project name, proposed construction, I'm going to say renovation with new construction, and project type. Project type provides some convenience prefills that are designed to help speed the process of adding use groups in Inception. In Inception Lite, which we're looking at now, we only provide 3 project types to illustrate the various levels of prefill information. The first project type on the list, generic project type, doesn't provide any prefill information and requires that all data be manually entered. Essentially, any project can be built using the generic project type. The next type on the list, low-density residential, provides a predefined list of spaces that might be found in a low-density residential project, as well as low, medium, and high cost per square foot numbers for both renovation and new construction for each predefined use group type. We'll see how this works in a minute. The last type on the list, church, like low-density residential, also provides a list of spaces, including low, medium, and high cost per square foot for both renovation and new construction. However, the church project type also provides low, medium, and high occupancy densities in terms of square foot per occupant for each use group type. Later this year, the full version of Architactile Inception will be released and will include several more project types, and we'll be adding more through updates over time. We're also considering tools to help you develop your own project types in the future. To show you how project types work, I'm going to select church, since it provides the most prefill information, and I'm going to touch Create to create the project. Now, the place in the app where project types comes into play is in use groups. And since we just created this project, there's no use groups defined, so we'll start by adding a use group. Now, this use group is like any other, and if we want, we can manually specify all the values. So selecting a non-generic project type doesn't prevent us from manually creating any arbitrary use group we want, just as though we would with a generic project type. So what's different for a non-generic project type? Well, if you've watched the video on use group calculations, or if you've created a project with a generic project type, you may notice a small change, and that change comes right next to the name field. There's a pull-down icon, so let's tap that icon. It reveals a list of use groups that might typically be found in the type of project specified, in this case in a church. So let's say in our church project we require a child care space for infants. So we can scroll through this list and find something suitable. There's infants under education. So we'll tap it and it gets selected. So the first thing you notice is that the use group name is set to the value we selected on the list. Note that the name field will only update if it's still set to the default name of new use group. If we want, we can change the name of the use group, but it'll still be linked to the use group type selected. So for example, if we wanted to call this Child Care Center, because that's more meaningful to our client, we can do that. So the second change that you'll notice is the color of the space has changed. This is indicated in this small square, the small square right there, next to the name field. This is the color that will be used for the use group on the bubble diagram. Generally speaking, the color is consistent for all the use groups within a single category. So in this case, we picked infants from the education category. Any of the use groups from the education category are going to have that same green color. Of course, once we've selected the use group type, we can change the color if we'd like. Next, we move down to the grid in the middle of the page. You can see we now have some values in the grid. We have values for occupancy density for new construction. We also have some quality budget numbers for renovation and new construction in terms of cost per square foot. So below each of these values, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but below each one of these values is the word mid in small print. And this indicates that we're at a mid-range value for each of these use group fields. If we select the density value, for example, the keyboard is revealed, but at the top of the keyboard we now have some convenience buttons for low, mid, and high densities. for this particular type of use group. By default, when a use group is selected from the pull-down list, the mid values are selected for the density and cost per square foot fields. But if we want to change these values, we can still type in any specific value we'd like, just like we could before. Alternatively, we can select one of the convenience high, mid, or low buttons. So let's say our client wants a very spacious, low-density space for infants. We can tap the low button and select a density of 45 square foot per occupant. We now see the text below the value is changed to low to indicate we're at the lower end of the spectrum. In fact, once you've picked use group types, even if you type in an arbitrary value, it will give you a low, mid, high indicator below the value to indicate where on the spectrum the value falls. Similarly, low, mid, and high buttons also exist for cost per square foot values for both the new construction and renovation columns. So we can go into our new construction quality value. And then we have low, mid, and high buttons. Low at $65 per square foot, mid at $85 per square foot, which is what it defaulted to, and a high value of $150 per square foot. These numbers are in Tulsa, Oklahoma dollars, but Inception will apply the appropriate location factor to these numbers based on the nearest metro area setting, the general project information page. We'll take a closer look at that feature in a moment. So now comes the cool part. Since we've already defined density in terms of square foot per occupant and quality in terms of cost per square foot, all we need to supply is the expected occupancy. So let's say our client wants to accommodate 15 new infants in this new addition. So I'll put in an occupancy of 15 and hit enter. Inception then calculates that we require a space of 675 square foot at a cost of $85 per square foot, yielding a budgetary estimate of $57,375 for this particular use group. Notice that the narrative scope text at the bottom of the page is automatically updated to reflect this information. Since we selected renovation with new construction as a proposed construction type during project creation, we also have columns for existing and renovation space. Let's say that the client already has childcare space of 450 square feet and we want to renovate and expand. So we'll come in and say that they have an existing space of 450 square feet, and they want to renovate all of it. So we'll come in and put 450 square feet in the renovation column. A budgetary value of $25 per square foot for renovation is already supplied, and we think that's in the ballpark. So Inception calculates an estimated renovation budget of $11,250, which is added to our addition budget of $57,375 to get a total for the use group of $68,625. Again, our scope text at the bottom of the page is updated to reflect these changes. So our scope text now reads, Child Care Center, renovation of approximately 450 square feet, 100% of existing area. Estimated construction budget for renovation is $11,250. New construction of approximately 675 square feet to accommodate approximately 15 people, increasing existing area by 150%. Estimated construction budget for new construction is $57,375. Total estimated construction budget for Child Care Center is $68,625. It's really nice to have the scope written out for you, and not having to write and edit the scope text is a major time-saving feature in Inception. So let's add another use group and look at the process as it flows in real time. So we're going to add a use group. The client would like to renovate and expand some existing office space. So we'll select office space from the list of predefined use groups, and they currently have about 500 square feet of existing office space, and they want to renovate about half of that space. So we'll put 250 square feet in the renovation column, and they want to do a fairly extensive renovation, so we're going to come in and select the high level of $65 per square foot. The client also wants to build an some additional office space to accommodate their expanding staff. So they need offices for 5 more people. So I'm going to put 5 in occupancy. These offices need only to be of a moderate density and quality, so we're going to keep the default of 120 square foot per person and $85 per square foot. Once we enter 5 into the occupancy field, Inception calculates that we need 600 square feet of office space with a budget of $51,000. The total budget for both the renovation and additional office space is $67,250. And our scope text is already written for us. So we're done. We're done with adding that space. That's all we have to do to define our high-level scope and conceptual budget for this particular use group in our project. So let's go back and talk a minute about location factor. I'm going to hit the back button to go back to the project menu and select the general project information page. You can see that I have the metro area set to Tulsa for this particular project. Let's change that to a different market. Let's say we're going to set it to Fresno, California. So Inception calculates a location factor of 1.267. So now I'm going to go back into use groups. Now the one thing you need to understand about location factors is that changing the value on the general project information page will not change any of the values that have already been entered for a use group. However, it will change the values used for high, mid, and low cost per square foot convenience buttons. So you want to set the location value before you start adding use groups to your project. Projects that are not going to be built in your market. So once the location factor is changed, Inception will use the value to scale the high, mid, and low quality numbers appropriately. So now for the office use group, we have let's go into the office use group, and we now have a low value of $82.50 per square foot, a mid value of $107.50, and a high value of $190 per square foot. So these numbers should be in the ballpark for Fresno, California. All right, that's it for project types. That's basically what they are and how they work. If you have expertise with a particular type of project and are interested in seeing it as a project type in Architactile Inception, please visit our website at architactile.com or for contact information and give us a shout. We'd love to work with you in developing that. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in another video.